Okay, good morning to everyone. Today, we are going to continue our discussion from the previous class. And we will start again with segmenting the market. We'll continue the topic, and then afterwards, we will discuss targeting the market. So, just a quick review. What did we talk about last Monday? So we discussed the STP process, which stands for segmenting, targeting, and positioning. So when we speak of segmentation, it is the process of dividing a larger market into smaller pieces. So like I said previously, it's kind of like dividing a big pizza pie into smaller slices. And how do we come up with these smaller pieces? It's all going to be based on meaningful and measurable shared characteristics. So therefore, this could be in the form of demographics, it could be based on geography, and it could also have to do with psychographics. That's why we have those types of segmentations. We also talked about market segmentation tools, and then we move on to the next way by which we can segment our market, and this is behavioral. So when we speak of behavioral segmentation, we slice the market in terms of participation or non-participation in an activity. So sometimes this involves identifying the different ways consumers use products in a category. So one example given in the book is Mattel. And Mattel, it's the company that manufactures Barbie dolls. So Mattel introduced a brand that it called Barbie Girls. Yeah, like the song, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Anyway, so why did they come up with this brand? They came up with the brand to attract the increasing number of girls who spent most of their time online instead of playing with the real Barbie dolls. So that's what we mean by participation or non-participation in an activity. So these girls participated or preferred to participate in online virtual worlds rather than to participate in playing with actual Barbie dolls. So this Barbie Girls brand featured a website, barbiegirls.com, that would allow the children to create their own virtual characters and design their own room. So let's have a look at that website. Okay. So actually, if you click barbiegirls.com, you will be redirected to the barbie.com website. So this gives you an idea of what the target market is interested in. Okay, but specifically, okay, let me just show you one feature of the website. Okay, so it's kind of like, okay, so it's kind of like playing with paper dolls, except it's all virtual. Okay, so let me just try to share this with the audio. Okay, one moment. So now I hope you can also hear the audio from the site. So for example, if we choose this character, okay, let's say this character, alright? And then, so obviously you have so many choices. Okay, so I'm just clicking randomly, by the way. Alright, even the accessories. Okay. So I guess that kind of gives you an idea about the BarbieGirls.com website. It's like you're playing with the Barbie doll except it's online. Okay. Then let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. Okay, one moment. Okay, so like we said earlier, this brand was designed for girls who spend a lot of time online in virtual worlds instead of playing with real dolls. So we proceed to the next slide. Okay, so segmenting by behavior or behavioral segmentation often singles out the heavy users of the product or the service. Why? Because, of course, the heavy users are the key to sales. So this follows the so-called 80-20 rule, which says that 20% of the customers buy 80% of a product. So that was the 80-20 rule. Good morning, Zerlane. Okay.
Hi, sir.
Hi. So anyway, just a few minutes ago, I showed the website, but since you joined just now, you weren't able to see it. So you can just watch it again later when I upload
Opo.
the video to YouTube. Okay.
Okay.
So we proceed. So this is behavioral segmentation. It is the one of the other ways by which we can segment a market aside from psychographics, demographics, and geography. Okay, so segmenting the market. So SSK needs to combine both the rational and the emotional factors when they think about their target. So, like any advertising campaign, you have to appeal not just to the mind, but you also have to appeal to emotion. So, who are the people who have to think really well about this? These are the account planners and researchers. So basically, these are the people who are involved in, if this was making a video, like the pre-production. So before the actual campaign, they have to figure out who is our specific target market. Okay, so these people, the planners and researchers, they spend their time looking for information, but they don't stick with just demographics. It's very important. Like we said, demographics only solves the rational factors, but we also have to consider the emotional factors. So the better the job that the planners and researchers are able to do, this will in turn help the account, media, and creative team that will help them to visualize and understand the consumer. Okay, so if we have an insightful, comprehensive target profile based on the work of the planners and researchers, then the creative team, or we can call them the creatives, can develop an empathic understanding. Like they really know or seem to know how the consumer feels about things. And then in the last item, it says here that the creative's understanding of the audience, the better that understanding is, much better when they craft the message that speaks in an authentic, compelling voice. So the more you understand your target audience or target market, the better you'll be able to speak to them in an authentic and compelling voice. So even in advertising, research is very important because everything else depends on it. So we proceed. Okay. So what happens if the agency settles for just simple demographics? Then we risk oversimplifying the campaign. Okay, so it can't be just all about how many people are male, how many are female, or what age group. Yeah, that's important too, but that oversimplifies the campaign if that's the only thing we focus on. Okay. I think Jamal might be here. Is Jamal also online? Okay, probably. Oh, Camille. Camille is here. Hi, Camille. Good morning.
Sir. Good
Okay.
morning, sir.
Morning po. Okay, so if you can mute the microphone for now, and then later on when we have to discuss, I'll let you guys know when to unmute the microphone. Okay. So going back to the slide, so we have the account planner. We mentioned that earlier. And in SSK at that time, the name of the account planner for the MSNBC account was Michelle Rowley. So what does she have to do? Okay, so Michelle Rowley had to find the significant differences among potential target markets. Okay, so how can we segment the market correctly? How can we divide the pie into correct slices? We have to find the significant differences. And some of these differences are not going to be immediately apparent. So, for example, demographics, that's apparent, that's obvious, but psychographics, behavior, the reason behind choices or preferences, that's something that's not immediately available or not immediately apparent. So the planners have to find a way to get the qualitative answers. Okay, so in addition to telling demographics, Michelle also had a good sense of how users describe their technological acumen. So acumen is just a fancy word for skill. So she had to find out, do these people who visit the news websites like MSNBC.com or CNN.com or BBC.com, for example, how skilled are they with technology? Okay, and we also, and or rather, she also had to find out their behavior in terms of news gathering, as well as their preferences. Okay, so in the next slide, Michelle and her colleagues, they were able to identify expectations of news website visitors. So based on all their surveys, etc. So the first expectation was a good news website gives the news in a timely fashion. The other expectation people had was this website, it should be well organized, the text, the photos, and any video. And one final expectation was that it had to be a trusted media outlet. The website had to give trusted coverage. Okay, but despite all that, Michelle and her team, they still found that there were gaps. There were still some unanswered questions that they had to fill. So when you do planning for an advertising campaign, you have to make sure as much as possible that you fill in all of the gaps, because that's the only time when the ad agency can fully commit to a specified target audience and then work on positioning the brand. Okay, so unless you're 100% sure that all of the answers have been found, then you can also be 100% sure that you have the right target audience, and then you can start working on positioning the brand or making the brand stand out from all the other brands. All right, we proceed. Okay, so segmenting the market, SS plus K wanted to better understand the factors involved in making a choice for news and information. So Michelle and her team asked three more questions. And Zarlane, could you read number one, please?
What role does news and information play in the lives of online consumers?
Okay, so what is the role it plays in their lives? And Camille, number two, please.
What were the emotional drivers in choosing us first?
Okay. So what were the emotional drivers? So this is something more on, in terms of psychology. What were the emotional drivers? And finally, the third question they asked was, who were the influencers? Who were the people who influenced the site visitors' choices of news site or news sites? Okay.